Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're tackling really one of the most intense passages in the Gospels. Mark chapter 13, the Olivet Discourse.
It's powerful stuff. We're talking prophecy, history, the end of the age.
Yeah,
It's all packed in there.
exactly. And it's not just, predicting the future. It blends events that were near term for Jesus's listeners,
Sure.
things that actually happened, with the really big picture cosmic finale. It definitely makes you think about faith and history.
It does. And for our guide today, we're relying on a really detailed teaching study put together by the You Need Faith in Jesus team. They've done a verse-by-verse breakdown using the King James Version, aiming for a solid foundational understanding.
Right. And our goal here, as always, isn't just to give you information. This chapter is incredibly practical. We want to dig out what this means for preparation. How do you act on this word, not just listen to it?
That's the key. It touches on critical thinking, historical accuracy, and really spiritual alertness, vigilance.
So structurally, Mark 13 is one of the big teaching blocks in this gospel, isn't it?
Yeah, along with the parables back in chapter 4, here Jesus is essentially answering two big questions from the disciples. One is about the destruction of the temple in Jerusalem, which happened historically in AD 70. The other is about the signs pointing to his second coming.
And he weaves them together.
He does, and keeping those two timelines sort of distinct but related, that's crucial for getting this chapter right.
Okay, let's jump into it then. It starts with a pretty shocking moment right there at the temple. So the scene is set. Jesus is leaving the temple area. This is it, the last time before the crucifixion.
A poignant moment already.
And as they're walking out, one of the disciples is just, awestruck by the sheer magnificence of it all. He says in Mark chapter 13, verse 1, "Master, see what manner of stones and what buildings are here."
And you really have to picture this. Herod's temple wasn't just some building. Herod the Great was, he was obsessed with massive construction projects.
Right.
This temple complex was enormous, huge, perfectly cut stones, gold everywhere, gleaming white marble. It would have been blindingly impressive.
More than just impressive, right? It was the center of their world.
Absolutely. The symbol of God's presence, Jewish identity, their whole way of life. It felt permanent, indestructible almost.
Which makes what Jesus says next just devastating. Mark chapter 13, verse 2, he answers him, "Seest thou these great buildings? There shall not be left one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down."
Oh, wow. I mean, imagine hearing that. To a first-century Jew, that's like predicting the world will end tomorrow. It's unthinkable. Maybe even sounds like blasphemy.
The very center of their faith demolished.
Totally demolished. And this is where the source material, the historical note, is so vital. This wasn't just symbolic language.
It happened, literally.
Exactly like he said.
AD 70.
The Roman legions under Titus besieged Jerusalem. The temple catches fire.
Okay.
And the heat was so intense, all that gold decoration melted and ran down between the foundation stones.
Oh, wow.
So to get the gold, the soldiers literally pried apart every single stone, dismantled the whole thing, just as Jesus predicted. Not one stone left on another.
That fulfillment, it's powerful evidence for the authority of his words, isn't it?
Undeniable. It grounds the whole discourse in historical reality.
So after this bombshell, they move away from the crowds. Verse 3 tells us, "And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives over against the temple, Peter and James and John and Andrew asked him privately."
Yeah, the setting shift is important too. The Mount of Olives gives you this perfect panoramic view back across the valley to the Temple Mount he just talked about.
A visual aid for the lesson.
Exactly. And notice who asks. The inner circle.
Mm-hmm.
Peter, James, John, Andrew. This is private instruction for the future leaders of the church.
And they ask the crucial questions in verse 4. "Tell us, when shall these things be? And what shall be the sign when all these things shall be fulfilled?"
See how they link it all together?
Yeah, they assume the temple's destruction is the end of the age.
Right. They think, okay, temple down, kingdom comes right now. So they ask about the timing of the destruction and the sign of the final fulfillment almost in the same breath.
So Jesus' answer has to kind of separate those two things.
Precisely. He needs to show them what signs relate to the AD 70 event, the local disaster, and what signs point to the much later cosmic event of his return. Understanding that he's addressing both is like the master key to this whole chapter.
Okay, that makes sense. It's complex. Let's get into his answer then. It starts, maybe not where they expected.
Yeah, he doesn't start with dates or cosmic signs. His very first instruction, verse 5, is a warning. "Take heed lest any man deceive you."
The immediate threat isn't catastrophe, it's confusion, spiritual deception.
Especially relevant given they just asked for a sign.
Exactly. He basically says, okay, the first sign you'll encounter is people trying to mislead you. Verse 6 makes it clear. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many.
Were there figures like that around then?
Oh, absolutely. History tells us the decades leading up to AD 70 were full of charismatic leaders, revolutionaries, self-proclaimed messiahs in Judea. Jesus is arming them against false hopes and, premature alarms.
Okay, so first, beware deception.
Oh.
Then he talks about more general signs. Right. He moves to the sort of background noise of history, the things that will characterize the whole period between his first and second coming. And he tells them explicitly not to be alarmed by these.
That's verse 7. And when you shall hear of wars and rumors of wars, be not troubled, for such things must needs be, but the end shall not be yet.
Such a crucial instruction. Don't freak out every time there's bad news. Verse 8 lists them. Nation rising against nation, kingdom against kingdom, basically international conflict. Then earthquakes in diverse places, meaning, various locations, not just one spot. Famines, troubles. These things are terrible, yes, but they are not the signal that the end is immediately here.
That's the phrase the source highlights, right? These are the beginnings of sorrows.
Exactly. It's like the first pains of childbirth. It signals a process has started, a difficult one that will intensify, but it's not the final moment of delivery itself. So the takeaway for believers in any age is don't panic when you see global unrest. It's expected. Be not troubled.
Okay, so general signs, don't panic. Then he seems to pivot to something more specific to them, to believers. Persecution.
Yes, he gets very personal now. Verse 9 warns them they'll be dragged before religious authorities, councils, synagogues, and even secular rulers and kings.
So opposition from all sides.
Pretty much, facing the power structures of the world. But he immediately reframes it. This suffering has a purpose. It's for my sake, he says, and for a testimony against them.
A testimony? How so?
Well, think about it. Being put on trial, especially before powerful people who might never otherwise hear the gospel message, that becomes an incredible, unmissable opportunity to bear witness for Christ.
Ah, I see. The persecution itself creates the platform.
Exactly. The moment of danger becomes the moment of mission, which connects directly to the next verse, verse 10. And the gospel must first be published among all nations.
So the end time clock is tied to the church's mission.
That's what it implies. The final act doesn't happen until the global witness is accomplished. It reinforces their main job. Not date setting, but spreading the message, enduring the pushback, staying faithful.
Okay, but imagining being arrested, standing trial, the fear of not knowing what to say must have been huge?
For sure. But Jesus gives this incredible promise in verse 11. He tells them, basically, don't rehearse your speech. Don't worry beforehand. Take no thought beforehand what ye shall speak, neither do ye premeditate. But whatsoever shall be given you in that hour, that speak ye, for it is not ye that speak, but the Holy Ghost.
Wow. Divine assistance right when you need it most.
A guaranteed promise. The Holy Spirit will give them the words. That's incredibly liberating.
Then the description of opposition gets even more painful. Verse 12 talks about betrayal from within the family.
Yeah. The brother shall betray the brother to death, and the father the son, and children shall rise up against their parents and shall cause them to be put to death.
That's intense.
It shows how deep the division caused by following Christ can be. It leads right into verse 13's statement. You'll be hated of all men for my name's sake. Not just opposed by institutions, but rejected socially, personally, even by loved ones.
And that verse ends with the requirement for survival, spiritually speaking.
Yes, the crucial part. But he that shall endure unto the end, the same shall be saved.
Endurance. Holding fast.
It's the defining mark of genuine faith. If you fall away when things get tough, Jesus is saying perhaps your faith wasn't real to begin with. True believers persevere, they endure right to the end, whether that's the end of their life or the end of the age.
Okay, so that covers the general warnings, the nature of the age, the call to endure. Now, does he get back to their first question about the temple?
Yes. Now, he gives the specific sign they asked for, the one related directly to Jerusalem's destruction.
Right. This feels like a turning point. Verse 14, this is the signal to, well, get out of Dodge.
Exactly. This is the critical marker for the AD 70 timeline. Jesus says, but when ye shall see the abomination of desolation, spoken of by Daniel the prophet, standing where it ought not, let him that readeth understand. Then let them that be in Judea flee to the mountains.
The abomination of desolation. What did that mean to them?
It's a term from the prophet Daniel. referring to something profoundly sacrilegious that desecrates the holy place. The early church, as our source material explains, understood this to be the Roman armies.
The pagan armies.
Yeah, with their idolatrous eagle standards surrounding the holy city, eventually entering the temple area itself. That was the sign. The sacred space being violated by pagan military power, standing where it ought not.
And the reaction to seeing the sign had to be immediate.
Utterly immediate. Verses 15 and 16 paint a picture of desperate urgency. Let him that is on the housetop not go down into the house, neither enter therein to take anything out of his house.
Don't even grab your stuff.
Nope. And let him that is in the field not turn back again to take up his garment. Drop everything and run. It underscores the sheer speed and totality of the coming destruction. Delaying for possessions meant death.
He even mentions the difficulty for pregnant women and nursing mothers in verse 17, and praying the flight doesn't happen in winter in verse 18.
Those details make it so real, don't they? Winter travel in those hills would be brutal. Cold, rain, mud, maybe snow. It makes escape incredibly hard. This isn't abstract theology, it's practical survival advice.
And the most amazing part is, the Christians listened.
They did. History confirms it. Church historians like Eusebius record that during a temporary lull in the Roman siege, the Christians in Jerusalem remembered Jesus' warning. They saw the abomination and they fled.
Where'd they go?
Across the Jordan River to a town called Pella in the Decapolis region. They got out just in time, escaping the final horrific phase of the siege and the slaughter that followed when Titus returned.
Wow. Prophecy given, understood, obeyed, and it saved lives.
Exactly. A powerful testament to paying attention to his words.
And Jesus describes the intensity of that siege. He says it will be unlike anything before or after, verse 19.
Yeah, for in those days shall be affliction, such as was not from the beginning of the creation which God created unto this time, neither shall be.
That sounds extreme for a local event.
It does, but historians like Josephus, who was an eyewitness, describe horrors inside Jerusalem during that siege starvation. Cannibalism, disease, constant fighting, the sheer number killed that genuinely were unprecedented in their severity and scale for that era.
But even in that horror, there's a note of mercy in verse 20.
Yes, and except that the Lord had shortened those days, no flesh should be saved. But for the elect's sake, whom he hath chosen, he has shortened the days.
God steps in to limit the suffering.
Right. Divine intervention. He puts a boundary on the duration of the judgment, specifically to ensure the survival of his chosen people, the elect. If it went on unchecked, nobody would survive physically.
And during this intense chaos, the risk of deception goes up again.
Definitely. Verses 21 and 22 warn, and then if any man shall say to you, Lo, here is Christ, or Lo, he is there, believe him not.
More false messiahs.
Yes, and these ones will be particularly convincing. For false Christs and false prophets shall rise and shall show signs and wonders, to seduce, if it were possible, even the elect.
Signs and wonders, like miracles.
Apparently. Powerful enough to potentially fool even true believers. The desperation of the times makes people vulnerable. But Jesus' instruction is clear. Don't believe them. His real return won't be localized or secretive. It will be obvious.
He reassures them they have the intel they need. Verse 23 closes this section. But take ye heed. Behold, I have foretold you all things.
It's like saying, okay, you got the playbook. You know the general signs. You know the specific 80-70 trigger. You know about the deceptions. You're equipped.
So that covers the 80-70 part, which is now history for us. What happens next in the discourse?
Now the focus shifts entirely. We zoom out from local Judea to the whole cosmos, from 80-70 to the distant future, the second coming.
Okay, so a definite change in scope here.
Huge change. Verse 24 starts. But in those days, after that tribulation, he's moving beyond the 80-70 context. And what precedes his return, cosmic chaos.
It's verse 24 and 25 describe it. The sun shall be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars of heaven shall fall, and the powers that are in heaven shall be shaken.
This isn't just local trouble anymore. This is the fabric of creation itself coming undone. A kind of decreation signaling the end of the current age. These are the universal signs.
And unlike the abomination, which was a sign to flee and hide, his actual return is public.
Spectacularly public. Verse 26. And then shall they see the Son of Man coming in the clouds with great power and glory.
Coming in the clouds, that echoes Old Testament prophecy, right?
Directly. It's a clear reference back to Daniel chapter 7, where the Son of Man approaches the Ancient of Days on the clouds to receive authority and dominion. Jesus is claiming that identity.
Yeah.
And notice, great power and glory, this isn't the humble servant anymore. This is the returning king. Everyone will see it.
And the purpose of this arrival. Verse 27.
The great ingathering. And then shall he send his angels, and shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from the uttermost part of the earth to the uttermost part of heaven.
Bringing his people home.
All of them.
Well, if
From every corner of the earth throughout all of history, it's the completion of salvation, the final reunion. Immense hope for those who've endured.
to help them grasp the timing, or at least the nearness, he uses an analogy, the fig tree.
Yeah, verses 28 and 29. It's a simple, everyday illustration for them. Now learn a parable of the fig tree. When her branch is yet tender and putteth forth leaves, you know that summer is near.
Makes sense. Budding tree means warm weather is coming.
Exactly. So Jesus says, in the same way, when ye shall see these things come to pass, referring back to those cosmic signs, the sun darkening, stars falling, know that it is nigh, even at the doors. Those dramatic events are the final, unmistakable signal that his return is imminent.
Okay, that seems clear. But then comes verse 30, which, well, it causes a lot of discussion.
It does. Verily I say unto you, that this generation shall not pass till all these things be done.
So this generation, what does that mean? The people right there listening to him?
That's one interpretation, yeah. That everything, including the second coming, had to happen within their lifespan, say 40 years or so. The obvious challenge there is, well, the cosmic signs in the second coming clearly didn't happen by AD 70.
Right. So what's the alternative?
Another strong view, supported by the context, is that this generation doesn't mean the specific people alive then, but rather the generation that sees the beginning of those final cosmic signs he just described.
So the generation that witnesses the sun darkening, the stars falling?
Exactly. That generation, once those specific end-time signs start, is guaranteed to see the final fulfillment, the return of Christ. It connects the certainty directly to the observable signs themselves, rather than a fixed date from Jesus' time.
That interpretation seems to fit the flow better, connecting the fig tree sign to the generation that sees it.
It resolves some of the tension, yes. But regardless of the debate on verse 30, Jesus immediately follows with an absolutely stunning claim of the certainty of the event itself. Verse 31.
This one is powerful. Heaven and earth shall pass away, but my words shall not pass away.
Think about that claim. He's saying his prophetic word is more permanent, more reliable, more real than the entire physical universe. Creation itself will dissolve, but his promises, his predictions, they are infallible and eternal. That's an incredible statement of divine authority.
So the event is absolutely certain, but the timing?
The timing, that's a great mystery. Verse 32. But of that day and that hour knoweth no man, no, not the angels which are in heaven, neither the Son, but the Father.
Not even the Son. How does that work?
It's a profound glimpse into what theologians call the kenosis, or the self-emptying of Christ during his time on earth. In his humanity, Jesus voluntarily chose not to exercise the independent use of all his divine knowledge.
So he submitted that knowledge to the Father.
Exactly. It's a testament to his true humanity and his complete dependence on the Father during his earthly ministry. It also powerfully shuts down any attempt by us to pinpoint the exact date. If Jesus himself, in his incarnate state, didn't know, we certainly can't figure it out.
So if we can't know the time, what should we be doing?
That's the crucial application. Verse 33. Take ye heed, watch and pray, for you know not when the time is. Because the timing is unknown, the only appropriate response is constant readiness.
He uses another parable here, doesn't he, about a master leaving his house?
Yes, verse 34. A man goes on a journey, leaves his servants in charge, gives them specific work to do, and tells the doorkeeper, the porter, specifically to watch.
So every believer has work to do and a command to be alert.
That's the picture. We've all been given tasks of the mission, living faithfully, and we all share the responsibility of watchfulness because the master could return at any time. Verse 35 lists the watches of the night, evening, midnight, cock crowing, morning, emphasizing the unpredictability.
And the danger is being caught sleeping, verse 36.
Right. And that's not talking about physical sleep. It's spiritual sleepiness, apathy, carelessness, getting so caught up in worldly things that you forget the master's return, neglecting the work he assigned.
And this final command, watch, it wasn't just for Peter, James, John, and Andrew.
No, he makes it universal. The very last verse, 37, seals the entire discourse. And what I say unto you, I say unto all, watch.
That's the takeaway command for everyone in every generation.
It is. It sums up the practical response to everything he's just taught. Be alert, be ready, be faithful. Hashtag, practical application and review.
Okay, that's a lot to take in. We've gone from the destruction of Jerusalem, now long past, to the future return of Christ. So how do we connect this back to you listening right now? How do we apply this teaching from the You Need Faith in Jesus team materials?
Well, the core message, running through all of it, is preparation. Like you said earlier, it's not just information. Jesus gave this discourse to warn, yes, but also to prepare and encourage believers. The goal is faithfulness and watchfulness through whatever comes.
So the knowledge is only useful if it leads to action.
Exactly.
Sure.
Understanding the prophecies is valuable, but applying the commands to endure, to witness, to watch, that's where it counts.
And the source material encourages some specific ways to make this practical, right?
Yes, definitely. First, they really emphasize memorization and review. Locking in key verses helps shape your perspective. Think about verse 13 on endurance, or that final command in verse 37, watch. Making those part of your thinking is vital.
There are tools available, too.
Right. The You Need Faith in Jesus team provides flashcards with each lesson. Using those to review the key terms, the historical points, the different signs, that really helps solidify it, especially keeping the 80-70 signs distinct from the second coming signs.
And a quiz.
Yeah, completing the quiz that goes with the lesson is a good way to check your understanding, make sure you caught the crucial warnings and instructions.
And looking ahead.
The homework is straightforward but essential. Read the next chapter, Mark chapter 14. Staying engaged with the ongoing story of the gospel is the best preparation for the next deep dive.
So this Olivet Discourse, it gives us both historical validation, seeing the 80-70 prophecy fulfilled, and clear marching orders for today.
Precisely. It's not meant to scare us into paralysis, but to steady us into vigilance and faithful work. We've been forewarned, which means we can be forearmed.
We know what's required. Work, endurance, watchfulness.
That sums it up.
So maybe the final thought to leave you with today is this. If the Master returned tonight, suddenly, unexpectedly, would he find you busy with the work he gave you? Or would he find you spiritually asleep, distracted, unprepared? Let that question sharpen your focus and motivate your watchfulness, starting right now.
Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into Mark chapter 13.
We'll see you next time. Watch and pray.